I never expected my life to change because of a simple knock on the door. At the time, I was 34 years old, living alone in a small apartment on the edge of town. My days were predictable. I woke up early, went to work, came home, made dinner, watched television, and went to bed. Every day felt exactly like the one before it. It wasn't a bad life, but it wasn't an exciting one either. A year earlier, I had gone through a difficult divorce. The end of my marriage left me feeling lost and uncertain about the future. Most of my friends were busy with their own families, and I spent more time alone than I liked to admit. One rainy Thursday evening, I came home exhausted after a long day at work. The weather was gloomy, and the sound of rain tapped softly against my windows. I changed into comfortable clothes, made myself a cup of tea, and settled onto the couch. I was just beginning to relax when I heard a knock at the door. At first, I ignored it. I wasn't expecting anyone. A few moments later, the knock came again. Curious, I stood up and walked to the door. When I opened it, I found a teenage girl standing in the hallway. She looked nervous and completely soaked from the rain. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she finally said, "I'm sorry to bother you. My phone died, and I don't know who else to ask for help." I immediately felt concerned. She couldn't have been older than 16 or 17. I invited her inside so she could get out of the rain. She hesitated for a second before stepping into the apartment. I handed her a towel and offered her a warm drink. As she sat at my kitchen table, she slowly explained what had happened. She had traveled to town with a friend for a school event. Somehow they became separated and her phone battery died before she could contact anyone. She didn't know the area and had been walking around for nearly an hour in the rain. I helped her charge her phone and locate her friend's number. While we waited, we talked. She told me about school, her dreams, and her plans for the future. Her optimism was refreshing. She spoke about becoming a nurse one day and helping people who were struggling. Listening to her reminded me of something I had forgotten: hope. Somewhere along the way, I had stopped believing exciting things could happen in my own life. I had become comfortable living inside a routine. The girl eventually reached her friend and arranged a ride home. Before leaving, she smiled and thanked me. "Most people wouldn't have opened the door," she said. I smiled back. "Most people would have helped." She shook her head. "Not everyone." Then she left. I thought that would be the end of the story. I was wrong. A few days later, there was another knock at my door. When I opened it, the same girl stood there holding a small gift bag. Inside was a handwritten thank you card and a box of homemade cookies. The card was simple, but one sentence caught my attention. It read, "You reminded me that good people still exist." I stared at those words for a long time after she left. The truth was, she had no idea what her visit had done for me. Helping her had reminded me that I still mattered, that I could still make a difference in someone's life, even in a small way. Over the following months, something changed inside me. I began saying yes to opportunities I would normally avoid. I joined community events. I volunteered at a local shelter. I started reconnecting with old friends. Little by little, my world became larger again. One evening at a volunteer event, I met a woman named Sarah. She was kind, funny, and easy to talk to. We became friends almost immediately. Months later, friendship turned into something more. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely happy. One afternoon, while telling Sarah about the unexpected events that led me there, I mentioned the rainy evening and the girl who knocked on my door. Sarah smiled and said something I will never forget. "Sometimes life changes because we open a door we almost ignored." She was right. If I had stayed on the couch that evening, none of it would have happened. The conversation, the reminder, the confidence, the friendships, the opportunities, the happiness I eventually found. All of it started with one simple choice, one knock, one open door. Today, whenever life feels uncertain, I remember that rainy night. We often imagine life-changing moments as something dramatic, a major opportunity, a huge decision, a once-in-a-lifetime event. But sometimes, the moment that changes everything arrives quietly. A stranger asking for help, a conversation you didn't expect, a chance encounter on an ordinary day. The future can begin in the smallest of moments. You just have to be willing to answer the door when opportunity knocks. Sometimes the knock you almost ignore becomes the very thing that changes everything.